My wife's best friend decided to kiss me. This happened on Friday, and I've taken the weekend to process it, but I still don't know what to do. I somehow ended up kissing my wife's best friend, who we'll call Amy. Also, this is a throwaway account, as my main is too identifiable. For some backstory, on Friday, Amy needed someone to pick up her 3-year-old from daycare since she was working late and had a date planned. I didn't know about the date at the time. Amy is a single mum who left her abusive ex not long after their kid was born and is still involved in ongoing custody and abuse cases in court. My wife and I have been helping with childcare since the breakup, as Amy's ex and his family are apparently unreliable, and her own parents seem to have a similar attitude. We often help with daycare pickups or weekend babysitting, especially since Amy works odd shifts at the hospital. I spend more time with the child because I work a regular 9 to 5, and my manager is more relaxed than my wife's crazy schedule and boss. None of this has ever been an issue. In fact, it's helped my wife and I prepare for having our own child someday and understand the work that goes into parenting. We also know that Amy's going back to school in the fall to study healthcare and will likely need continued support with childcare. Our friends have pointed out that I've been playing dad for a child that's not mine, and this is what changed my wife and my minds on actually wanting our own kids. On Friday, I picked up the kid from daycare after work and stopped for groceries before heading home to pick up my wife and go to a friend's place for game night. They're also great with having the kid around. Around 8 p.m., Amy texted my wife that she was on her way to pick up the kid. When she arrived, she looked exhausted. I packed up the kid's things and carried him to the car. While swapping the car seat back into Amy's car, we made small talk about her day. That's when she mentioned that her date had flaked. He found out from a friend that she had a kid and hadn't told him. This isn't the first time that it's happened. My wife has told me about similar situations, and once, Amy's ex even harassed one of her dates who was likely a great fit 3 dates in. From what I understand, Amy prefers to disclose that she has a child in person rather than over text, as it's likely a touchy subject. She started crying, so I buckled the kid in and turned back to comfort her. Being the socially awkward penguin that I am, I didn't know how to handle the situation. I awkwardly patted her on the head, which felt wrong, so I offered a hug. During the hug, Amy looked up and kissed me. I froze. By the time I processed what happened, she had pulled away and said she should go home to bed. I was stunned, and I didn't know what to do, so I went back inside and continued game night. I told my wife that Amy's date had flaked. I know Amy caught her up on the details of the failed date on Saturday because my wife spilled the tea, but there was no mention of the hug or kiss. I still haven't told my wife about the kiss, and I'm not sure what to do. Part of me thinks I should tell her, but I worry that she'd lose a friend over what I believe was a lapse in judgment on Amy's part. And yes, I'm aware that I'll get my fair share of judgment from Reddit and from my wife for not telling her right away. I'll deserve it. Was this cheating? In the comments, Great Reset Bet says, 1. Tell your wife exactly as is. 2. No, it's not cheating, but God help you if Amy confesses first, and then you are capital F fucked, bro. And 3. You cannot ever be in isolation with Amy ever again. She loses that right permanently. No car rides alone. Nope. Permanently off the table. And stop playing father figure and family man for a family that isn't yours. Boundaries can prevent this from occurring again. I can see why a desperate woman might catch feelings under such circumstances, which is one of the many reasons why Opie and his wife should have really set some limits. Regardless of whose fault it was, your wife deserves to know, and it would be better that it came from you so that it doesn't come out any other way than the truth. I'm not saying Amy would lie and say you initiated it, but it would be best to have all of your ducks in a row and there isn't any discrepancy in the truth, because if Amy was the type of woman capable of kissing her friend's husband, then what else could she be capable of? It's also your wife's choice whether or not she wants to forgive her friend. You shouldn't gatekeep her choices. I'm sure you would want to decide whether or not you would want to keep your hypothetical friend if he had kissed your wife. A kiss without consent is wrong. Addressing it openly with your wife makes it clear that you value her trust over avoiding awkwardness. Yeah, I get the sense that OP is feeling pretty icky about it, and rightfully so. She crossed several boundaries. And yeah, your wife might drop her as a friend, but who wants a friend who kisses your husband? The best friend is who fucked up, not OP. OP's wife has done a lot for this woman. What a fucked up way to show your best friend gratitude and respect. Her way of showing gratitude to OP is also fucked up, and she showed absolutely no respect to him by doing that. Couldn't agree more, and I don't understand why you didn't just go into that games night and say, "Hey wife, can I see you in the kitchen for 2 secs? Let's go grab a drink." And then just tell her there what happened straight away. Why can you not do that with your wife? I know it's going to make things awkward a little bit at games night, and the mood is going to be weird maybe, given that your energy will change after something like that, but your marriage is more important than the vibes at game night. I wouldn't trust a friend that just kisses my wife like that. I'd have some serious feelings towards them for doing that, especially given the circumstances. You guys helped her out so much, and she turns around and in her grief of lying by omission to a date about having a child and being, I would say, rightfully walked out on. I think that's a deal breaker for so many people, and rightfully so. She comes to you for comfort, you give her your awkward turtle comfort, and she kisses you. No, that's not how you deal with your emotions. That's not an appropriate outlet for your grief. No. You're not evil, you're not a bad person for delaying this information getting to your wife, but you are stupid for not telling her straight away. Don't give her any reason not to trust you, OP. And now, onto the update. If you haven't read the previous post, it's clear that I had a lot to take away from this situation and work on. To clear up a couple of questions and comments, our friend group has a 13-year age gap from youngest to oldest. Most of us have or had siblings in the group, which is why we have such a difference in ages. I am autistic and have an issue with dealing with most uncomfortable situations. The kiss was on the lips, and yes, I froze in the situation. It didn't come across to me as anything other than odd. I thought about telling my wife right away, but was uncomfortable doing so in front of the others, so didn't at the time. It was playing on my mind for the rest of the game night and had me unsure what it was, and if it was important to tell her. After the initial post, I left work early to inform my wife what happened on Friday. After 2 long hours, we had a few things to deal with. We agreed I was wrong for not telling her about it right away, which is no surprise, but she was thankful I told her. We promised to work on our relationship and communication. After work the following day, following a commenter's advice, we took a trip to get out of town for a few days and go camping. This has helped us reconnect and reminded us of why we got married in the first place. We got back to town today, and my wife had invited Amy over in the evening to discuss what happened. My wife decided that she wanted to further talk about what happened in person after she spoke to her initially on Monday. So, the conversation on Monday with Amy. Following your advice, I suggested that my wife call Amy to confirm my story, so she did. Amy immediately confessed before my wife even had a chance to confront her fully. Amy said that she had been struggling recently and she needed support. The failed date and seeing me play the father figure, along with seeming to care about her day, made her feel wanted. She said that she felt awful immediately, and that is why she rushed home. This call went on for nearly an hour, where we discussed how we felt hurt as a couple and how we needed to set some boundaries. We agreed that we would be stepping back from helping with her and the kid for the time being, but agreed that if we were to help again, my wife would deal with most of it. My wife and I agreed that I wouldn't be left alone with Amy for some time, just to be sure, and this includes game nights. Amy said that she understood how we felt and continued to show remorse, so my wife, for some reason, invited her over today. Friday. So the two of them spoke for a few hours today about everything. They went back over the boundaries and what was expected if Amy was going to remain friends with us. Against what I think is the right choice, my wife and Amy are going to continue as friends for now. We are still going to help out, but the interactions that I have with Amy will be limited as I'm still not 100% sure of the whole situation. I know many of you will be against this, but we have set some ground rules on how often we help out. Amy agreed that looking for a partner right now will be the last thing on her list, and she will be focusing on her child, work, and mental health. Amy's already in counseling and is likely to need more time. We agreed that this was something not to be discussed with the wider friend group, as we're sure they all have very different opinions, and we all want to keep the peace. One key boundary that I think had made a massive difference of the outcome of this, and hopefully helped Amy understand the situation and how I felt, is that I won't be carpooling with Amy to work when she goes back to university in September. I work in the next city over, not far from the university. Before all this happened, I had agreed to take Amy into the city on my way to work for the few days that she has in-person lessons, as I will already be making the trip, and especially in the winter, the roads can get dangerous. I feel bad for this, but it was one of the things that my wife had reminded me that I would have been alone with her in the car for some time. Depending on how things go, I might be willing to offer this again, but I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do. My wife has gone to bed early tonight, as camping takes a toll on the body, and I'm left wondering about the whole thing, and hopefully things will go back to some sort of normal soon. Our marriage seems to still be intact, and we've shared a lot and discussed the feelings we have both been having about other issues in our relationship. Our marriage isn't perfect, but we're going to work on it and promise to not let things like this happen again. Turns out, when you communicate effectively, you both find out the things that annoyed us about the relationship, which made the whole kiss issue the least concerning. We both have a lot to work on when it comes to our relationship as a whole, but that's something that we are both willing to work on. I'm not sure if keeping Amy as a friend was a good idea, but I will have to see how this goes before approaching my wife. Was this the right thing to do? In the comments, I think you need to communicate with your wife that a friendship with Amy isn't something that you want to continue with. That when she kissed you, it made continuing being her friend impossible. Your wife seems to want to continue this friendship. However, if roles were reversed, and a man had kissed her without her consent, and you wanted to remain friends with that person, I imagine she would have a problem with this. Amy crossed a physical boundary that could have caused major issues in your marriage, as well as sexually moved on you in a highly inappropriate way. Just because Amy is a woman and you are a man doesn't make this any less of a sexual assault against you. I know your wife feels for Amy and considered her a friend, but she isn't one. You have a hard boundary. You don't want any friendship with Amy. Your wife is violating that boundary. Honestly, your wife sounds like a pushover. This whole friendship group sounds exhausting. I'm glad your wife didn't hold the situation against you, but I agree that Amy should be cut from your lives. I hope this doesn't blow up in your face, OP. Stay away from Amy. No communication, no phones, block on social media if you can, no carpooling, and limit talking to her kid. Focus on your wife. Does anyone else remember the post where OP, the husband, was being flirted with by his wife's friend, sometimes in front of the wife, and he was wildly uncomfortable, and his wife was just shrugging it off? Then there was the update where his wife admitted that she'd given her friend permission to treat him like a boyfriend, and she'd just never considered his feelings about it? Yes, I immediately thought of that one. Such a weird fucking plan that was so inconsiderate, devious, and unnecessary, and childish, and rude, and insensitive, and dickish. But oh no, Redditor 3 be like, well, actually, OP should forgive his wife, because did you know that, people when they're pregnant, don't want their ex in the waiting rooms? And that you have no right to be in the pregnancy room? God damn it, Redditor 3, get out of my head. But no, seriously, what, this quote-unquote friend did was sexual assault. And that commenter was completely right to point out the double standard here. If it were a man forcing himself on OP's wife, and OP were to say, actually, we should continue helping him out with his child, it wasn't really that bad. I still want him to be in our lives, and I still want to be his friend. I feel like everyone would lose their shit and be like, He sexually assaulted a woman while she was vulnerable and alone. You can't allow this to continue. What if he steps it up? What if he continues and pushes her boundaries even more? Are you going to allow your wife to continue to be sexually assaulted in his presence? How can you trust those two alone? What if he makes a move on her? I have that exact same energy for this situation. I think OP needs to advocate for himself more and push his wife to cut that friend off. What she did was completely unacceptable. I don't care that they've made things right and she's trying to find an olive branch in this situation. There is no olive branch. If your partner is not okay with this friend that has, by all intents and purposes, sexually assaulted him, cut her off. I'm on OP's side here. I don't think keeping Amy as a friend was a good idea, OP. Fair enough, you want to see how this goes, but the right thing to do will be listening to your gut, having a stronger conversation with her, laying down your hard boundaries and being like, I don't want her anywhere near us. And you need to respect that. If you love me, if you are my wife, if you are my partner, you will remove her from our life. And that includes your life. Good luck with that, OP. Our next post is by user DogBiteThrowaway123, and it's titled, Dog Bit Home Intruder. Intruder's mother threatening to sue for medical costs. Throwaway for obvious reasons, but I live in an older home a stone's throw away from a frat row in a party school college town. Just over a year ago, a college student drunkenly entered my home via throwing his weight at my 150-year-old wooden door at around 1 a.m. When he entered, he woke us up and startled our large dog, who was most likely sleeping on the floor by the front door. The dog bit him, drew blood, and college student needed stitches. When we heard him entering the home, we called the police, who did a great job of coming quickly. They administered medical care to him, and one set of officers took him to the ER, while another set got a statement from us. We pulled our vaccine records for the dog, gave him the name to the vet, and so on. The next day, they called us to let us know that they had checked with the vet and everything about our dog was ship-shape, and the dog was obviously contained appropriately and has no bite record, so they didn't impound him or anything and chalked it up to doggy justice. They dealt with the student too and communicated with us throughout the process, and after all the court dates, he received a fine and a misdemeanor. We did not attempt to escalate, as college student was drunk, was stupid, had no prior record, and hopefully learned from the experience, and our dog. Door and frame got replaced and strengthened with another lock. We had no idea how brittle that door was. This week, over a year later, we got a letter from a lawyer representing the student and his mum saying we can settle for the cost of the dog bite expenses, which they did not itemize or send a copy of the bill for or anything, just put the number on a letter, or they will sue us for the cost plus legal fees. My husband and I can't see how this can possibly hold up in court, considering he was technically breaking and entering and did receive a misdemeanor for that. My question is, do we even need a lawyer for this? Or can we just say, see you in court, and represent ourselves with a copy of the police report from the break and enter? We're sort of regretting letting it go so easily now. Ugh. How can he possibly sue us for the cost of the stitches and ER bill when he was criminally trespassing in our house and breaking our door down? It's not like our dog was just outside running around unsupervised or even on a leash or something. He's not an aggressive dog at all and had never before and never since bit anyone. I feel like he and his mum watched one of those ambulance chasing lawyer commercials and took the bait. In the comments, the Pat Man says, or we can just say, see you in court and represent ourselves. Representing yourselves is a bad idea, even in a case that otherwise seems open and shut. In this case, you're not yet being sued, so you don't have to do anything. You should inform your homeowner's insurance of the letter, and they will likely handle it from there. How can he possibly sue us for the cost of the stitches and ER bill when he was criminally trespassing in our house and breaking our door down? He was trespassing doesn't automatically excuse everything that happened. It's entirely possible for you both to have been wrong. For him to break and enter, you for having a dangerous dog or something. Your particular situation doesn't seem like that from your retelling, but such things aren't terribly uncommon. OP replies, Okay, sounds good. We'll contact a lawyer on Monday. We paid one for advice when the student initially broke in to make sure we had our bases covered and had a reputation in case we needed to go to court. We did not. Our lawyer went on our behalf with written statements from us, and we will reach out to him again and then go from there. The Shadow Cat says, if he got probation, I would send the letter to his probation officer. They tend to frown on criminals trying to shake down their victims. And tell your dog what a good boy he is. My guess is that the kid lied to his parents about breaking into your home. I would bring a copy of the police report and any backup you have to an attorney to write a response to their attorney. That's where my mind goes. The kid spins his hero's journey about how the vicious, out-of-control dog mutilated him. His mother believes him and wants justice. Back up to the post, there's an edit. I'm hesitant to say where I live because it becomes way too easy to Google if I do. Edit 2. Whoa, there's a lot of responses. Thanks for the advice, everyone. At this point, we've made up our minds to speak to the lawyer that we had from the initial case last year. We'll call him on Monday and update after that conversation. To answer some questions, we are the homeowners, we paid out of pocket for the replacement door and door frame, and we also replaced our side and rear doors and frames with matching doors when we realized how easy it was to get into our house by forcing the door. This was in the low 5 figures. We took it out of our emergency fund and did not go through homeowners. There was a restitution order, but it was not enough to cover the doors we wanted, labor, and door frames. We live in a historic home and want to keep with the character. We have lived in a historic home for most of our marriage, so we know to keep cash on hand for pipe leaks, furnaces going out, and now door replacements. We tell our dog that he's a good boy every day. Don't you worry, he is the goodest boy. Let me fix that for you says, sometimes people cut strangers some slack. Being drunk and stupid is a near universal experience, although the violent break and enter is generally not. Still, I can understand feeling like bite plus fine/misdemeanor is enough for someone who wasn't otherwise violent. There's being drunk and stupid, and then there's breaking down a stranger's door in the middle of the night. Sure, at which point his hand was lacerated by a dog bite, he was arrested, and was sentenced to both a fine and some kind of restitution. They could have pushed for more, but they said, well, okay, that's probably even for the shock of the event and for the cost of the door. You're free to disagree, but I don't think OP's choice was unreasonable. This time, it just happened to come back to bite them in the arse. OP says, it's pretty much this. My husband and I have worked at the university in this college town for a while now. We have seen stupidity, though this is the first time someone has come into our house because of it, for as long as we have lived in that house. We wanted to give the kid the benefit of the doubt, and we wanted to give him a fighting shot at a good adulthood. Criminal records follow people around in serious ways, and we both believed that the punishment fit the incident at the time. We actually had a friend in our peer group when we were in our early 20s and 30s who did something similar when he was in his late teens. Wandered in drunk to someone's home about 20 years ago, and it became a felony. He struggled to find employment for years as a bright, sober, he never drank again after that, young man, and watching him lose out on job after job because he had to say he was a felon for breaking and entering for years after the incident shaped our decision to not push it with this guy. And you know what, that's fair. I completely agree with OP in this instance, and I doubt that he has the wherewithal to come back himself and push it with OP. To me, being a dumbass boy myself, to go through something like that and to already be punished like he was does not match his kind of actions lately of bringing you guys to court and trying to get more money out of you. That is not at all how a college-aged man who's already done this shit, been punished, had the fear of God put in him, it's not something he'd do. This is his parents, 100%. And yeah, like that comment said, I think he lied to his parents about what happened. That makes so much sense to me, because of course you'd be embarrassed about doing some stupid shit like that. Why would you want to admit to this? But unfortunately, it seems like his lie has gotten the best of him, and the lie has taken off and amounted to this. Don't let these lies go this far. Like, just don't do that in his position. Tell your parents the stupid shit that you got up to and you forced upon yourself before you start trying to sue others and they can put a felony charge on you. And now, on to the update. Quick update to this. It was easily handled. We met with our lawyer on Monday and paid him outright to draft a letter and include documentation of fault. Basically the police report, restitution order, court documents, etc., and also the vet records that include the police check and the vaccine records for the dog. My vet wrote down when the police called him and why they called him, and my lawyer's secretary grabbed a copy of that for this. Why he's including this, I don't know, but if anyone has any ideas why this would be important, let me know. He didn't want to include the bills and orders for the door at the time, but took a copy just in case we needed to move further. This morning, the student's mum's lawyer who sent the initial letter called our lawyer and said that the family would no longer be pursuing restitution for medical expenses and that we could expect a letter from him stating that he would arrive at both the lawyer's office and our house within the week. Turns out, those of you that guessed that the student didn't tell his mum why and how he got bitten by our dog are probably correct. It wasn't explicitly said during the phone call, but my lawyer relayed that he could infer it from the way the conversation with the other lawyer went. This probably made his top 10 stupid cases list. Thanks again for the advice and help. In the comments, Kitchen Owl says, I can only imagine the conversation between the mum and son later. Their dog bit you because you broke into their fucking house? Boy, I'ma take you back so the dog can bite you again for being so stupid. Let's go see if the dog will bite the stupid off of ya. Because clearly one bite wasn't enough to fix it if you had to go making me look stupid too. This whole thread feels like something my mother would say had I been this idiotic. I'd be so pissed if my child got me to pay for a lawyer for this stupid ass shit. Hopefully the mum makes him pay for the lawyer. My mum used to say when I'd go out as a teenager, don't do stupid shit cause I'm not posting bail. If you're lucky, I might call a lawyer for you in the morning, but you are paying for it. I'm 43 and haven't been arrested so far. Hopefully this kid's mum has this rule too now. In my university town where people didn't lock their doors, a drunk student accidentally broke into an older couple's house and found their giant dog, perfectly happy to see the intruder. The dog presumably enthusiastically met the new friend and guided him to the dog bed where the two new companions spent the night together. Lady woke up in the morning to her dog cuddling a complete stranger in the living room. Police were called, but homeowners did not press charges. They decided that their loyal pooch had deemed the student to be no threat, and therefore, it must all have been a big misunderstanding. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.